Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you find yourself in time and space. My name is Dave, and in this series of videos, we're going to build a network multiplayer game in Unreal Engine 4 using C++. Why am I doing this? Well, I believe there's plenty of coverage of Blueprint out there, but I don't think there's as much coverage of C++, and so I thought I would contribute to the conversation. Before I subject you to more PowerPoint as I lay out the roadmap for the future, let's take a quick look at the editor and see exactly what we're going to end up with. In this tutorial series, we're going to build the battery collector, which is the same process that Epic goes through in one of their tutorials, which I'll show you in a minute. But in this case, it's going to work in a multiplayer environment where Epic's only works in a single player. So I'm going to click play, and you'll notice that I have spawned two separate clients. One is on the left, and I'm controlling the one on the right. And I'll be running around and I'm collecting power from these batteries that are falling from the sky. You'll notice that power is draining from my two characters over time, and the poor server over there, his character is not getting any power because he's not collecting any pickups while I continue to collect it all. And the poor server is going to run out of power and collapse and die. Meanwhile, what I'm going to do is continue to run around and try to collect enough power to win the game. Almost, so close. So close. I did it. And I won. Great. So that's basically what we're going to end up with. You'll notice I can keep moving around, but now there's no more batteries spawning, and I'm no longer losing power. So we have some state handling going on in the project as well. So that's what we're going to end up with. But what does the roadmap look like in order to get there? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is give you a quick introduction. That's what's happening right now. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the prerequisites, the chapter 0, if you will, and that we'll do in this video as well. And then we'll start digging into the details in the next video with the beginning of chapter 1 as we lay out the battery collector. And then in the subsequent chapters and series of videos, I'll do inventory and other types of pickups. And then in chapter 3 and beyond, who knows, we'll see where the adventure takes us. But first, we're going to look at chapter 1. The C++ battery collector. As I mentioned, this is going to go right along the same track as Epic's version of this tutorial. So we're going to be setting up the base with the level and the base pickup class. We're going to create the spawn volume. Then we're going to set up our character. We're going to handle collecting pickups. So we're picking up what the spawn volume is putting down. We're going to deal with all the aspects of power, gaining it, draining it, and so forth. We're going to add some particles. We're going to add a HUD so that you can see what's going on. We're going to handle the various states of the game, and then we'll wrap it all up with a conclusion and do a little bit of polish. So that's the roadmap for this, what I've just called a chapter, in order to consolidate all of this work into a single unit. We're going to do all of that in this series of videos. But before you start on that, before you embark on this adventure with us, let's make sure we've covered off some of the prerequisites. First and foremost, I recommend that you get everything into Subversion or any other source repository, whether you prefer GitHub or Mercurial or Perforce or whatever. I still recommend that you get everything into a repository because it gives you backups, it gives you a rollback, and it gives you a history of all the things you've accomplished over time. So I think it's pretty useful. The other thing is, let me switch back here. If you're brand new to UE4, there are a bunch of other tutorials out there that I think you should check out first. So if you do those, Epic has a bunch of them, like I said. You want to make sure that you're just getting in there and doing the work. Just do it. Don't worry about trying to understand every subsystem that you touch. Just do the tutorial, and then do the next tutorial, and then the next. It may take you some time. It's going to actually take a bit of effort to get in there and keep working at it. But understand that over time, you will gain familiarity with the tools and the systems, and then you will gain understanding. And that's really critical for you to be successful in your adventure, building games using Unreal Engine 4. It's a very powerful tool, but it does take some time to figure out. So you also want to complete Epic's battery collector tutorial. You don't have to do this tutorial because we cover the same ground, but it's nice to have a project that already works and is finished that you can reference when you're building this one so that you can see the differences between what they did and what we're doing for a multiplayer environment. And then what's really critical is taking a look at Epic's introduction to Blueprint networking. That tutorial gives you all the foundational material for replication, whether it's actor replication, variable replication, function calls, so multicast function calls, and doing those communications over the network. And having that understanding in Blueprint from that perspective is also valuable because when you start approaching it from the C++ angle, especially if you aren't a programmer or you're not familiar with Unreal's their language and everything that they use in C++, some of the keywords, it will make getting from that abstract connection to the end results much easier because you'll have two different perspectives. You'll have the Blueprint perspective and the C++ perspective. Put those together, it's easier to get to the results, and understanding comes more quickly. Now, let me just switch over and show you some of these blueprints that I was mentioning. I'm just going to flip it over in my browser. You'll notice here in the Blueprint videos tutorial, this is the introduction to Blueprint networking that I mentioned. And the other video tutorials you can do, like I said, just dig in and do those tutorials one after another. It may take you a week or so. That's okay. It does take time. Do the twin stick shooter. You can do the endless runner with blueprints is a good one. Of course, the third-person battery one is the one we'll be doing. The time attack racer you can do. And there's plenty of others. These are just some of the ones that I've gone through and thought are pretty good. Let's also take a look at the battery collector in particular. This one is 21 videos that Epic has, and we are doing the exact same thing, so it's going to take a similar number of videos. I don't know if it'll be 21, but we'll end up with the same kind of scope. So just be ready for that and make sure that you're prepared to dig in, and we'll start on that in the next video, so I'll see you then.